Hi, boys and girls. It's Tuesday, and you know that it's Storytime Tuesday. We're going to be starting off on chapter 14 because this is where we left off. They were on their way to find the secret of their great 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 aunt. So, yeah, let's begin. Rolf, Matilda, Klein, and Klaus. 16 hours later, we landed in Phoenix and hired a driver to get us as far as Apache Junction. From there, we caught a ride with some hikers to the gear store near the Rogers through trailhead in the foothills of the Superstition Mountains. Gerald's journal was too heavy to lug all the way to Arizona, but that was no problem at all. All we needed were those coordinates and Storm's photographic memory. Her brain would take care of the rest. Now it was time to get our gear up and go. At the store, we stocked up a couple of shovels, pickaxes, and some rope, and plenty of water. We're going to want a satellite-based GPS trackers too. The lady behind the counter told us. Hopefully, her name tag said, "Hi, I'm Linda." "It's okay," Beck said, holding up her phone. "I've got GPS right here." "Trust me," the lady said, taking out a handheld unit for us. "You can't depend on your phone up in those mountains." "She's right, Beck," I said, remember last year in Brazil? "Good point," Beck said. She took the locator from the lady and handed it over to Storm, who usually navigated for us anyways. "So I guess we'll just be on our way." "Hey, I recognize you people," someone growled while we were waiting to sign out our stuff. When I turned around, there was a man staring at me with his single good eye. The other eye was covered with a black lens, and his glasses looked like someone kind of moderate day pirate. And why did I think that shotgun over his shoulder had something to do with that missing eye? "We get a lot of folks sniffing for gold around here," the guy went on. "You're the treasure hunting family, am I right?" "Sheriff, you leave those kids alone," Linda scolded. "They're just here for hiking." "Yeah, I'm here for the water skiing lessons," the guy said. Or rather, the sheriff said. I hadn't noticed the badge on his overalls until now. "Sir, I'm afraid you're mistaken," Tommy said. "We're the Bidden Sheriffs. Rolf, Matilda, Klein, and Klaus. That's our usual cover story, especially when we're on the trail of something good. Otherwise, we just end up with a lot of people tracking us while we're tracking the treasure. Maybe it wasn't a great idea to lie to a law enforcement officer like that, but then again, the sheriff looked like bad news, sorry. "I was just watching out for you kids," he said. "It can get mighty dangerous up there, especially if people think you're here for a reason, a shiny reason that's worth a lot of pesos." But Tommy wasn't backing it out. He said, "It can get mighty dangerous up there, especially if people think you for a reason, a shiny reason worth a lot of pesos." But Tommy wasn't backing down. "I'm afraid you're mistaken, sir," he said. "Like I already told you, we're the bitter doors." That's when somebody screamed really loud. It's Tommy Kid. I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it either. Now we had three girls closing in on us. "You're just cute in person. I live for your Instagram. Will you sign my backpack?" People really started to stare. "Better not, huh?" the sheriff asked. "So much for our cover. It was feeling way past time to get out of here." "We'll just take our stuff and go," I told Linda. She motioned me closer while Beck packed up. Storm put our coordinates into the GPS, and Tommy dealt with his fan. "You kids watch your back up there," she whispered. "Sheriff Rasper may wear that 10 star of his, but he's greedier than a hungry mouse in a cheese factory." "Really?" "You betcha," she said. "I'm guessing he's going to try to follow you. I suggest you shake him off quickly. I mean, assuming he's right and you're not just here for hiking." She smiled and winked. I winked back without admitting anything. But I think we understood each other. The best thing now was to move out as quickly as possible. Come on, I said as I passed by my brother and his groupies. It's time to hit the trail. Shaking the tail. By the time we reached the official trailhead, we had a whole bus of people pretending not to follow us. Every time I looked back, another one of them was ducking behind a cactus, or stopping to tie their shoes, or staring at the sky like they weren't just waiting to copy our next move. The only one who wasn't pretending was Sheriff Rager. He kept his distance, but he also just kept on coming. It sent a shiver down my back when the thought of the temperature was climbing towards 100 degrees. We'll dish those tourists first chance we get, Tommy said. It's not them I'm worried about, I said. And told my siblings about what Linda at the gear store had told me. I think we really need to keep an eye on. We should worry about all of them above, I think, Beck said. They all look suspicious to me. Then she turned around and snapped a few pictures of the scenery, but I knew she was really documenting everyone's face just in case. This way, Storm said with an eye on the rented GPS locator, this thing actually works pretty well. Looks like it's going to be steep uphead, but it's only a couple of miles to Geraldin's hiding place. We went as fast as we could, picking up 500 feet of elevation in the first half hour. We crossed a couple of log bridges and went a single file along the edge of a sheer cliff, then through some scrub pine until we came into the mouth of a narrow, twisting canyon. It was blazing hot under the burning sun, with no shade to hide from it. All of us had buckets of sweat pouring from us. A bunch of people following us had dropped off by now, but we still had Sheriff Rasher on our trail. This is where we make our move, Tommy said. As soon as we hit that canyon, we'll be out of sight for at least a minute. Then when I say go, we're going to climb straight up out of there, and then poof, we disappear. Sounds like a plan, I thought, but it was too hot to talk. We hiked on a little bit further until we notched the rocky walls of the canyon. We had swallowed us on either side. Okay, now, Tommy said. I'm the best climber. I led the way. Those canyon walls had plenty of handholds. It wasn't hard to scramble into a ledge, then another, with the others right behind me. Within a minute, we were about 25 feet above the canyon floor and just a few more handholds away from the top. Meanwhile, we could hear footsteps thudding down below and closer. Come on, Tommy whispered. He launched himself on top of the ledge, then turned around and helped pull the rest of us up. A few seconds later, we were out of sight, and just in time, too. I looked down to see Sheriff Rasher running by directly below us. We all stayed perfectly still, holding our breaths until he moved through the little canyon and out of sight again. Then we crawled away from the edge and kept on moving before he could figure out his mistake and came after us. So far, so good. It was looking like we had some luck on our side that day. But here's the thing about luck. It can change at any time and without warning. Chapter 16, A Slippery Slope. Which way from here? Beck asked. Up again. Storm pointed to the steep mountain in front of us. Just another half mile to go. Yay, but what a half mile, I said. This was going to be the hardest part by far. At least we had a trail to ourselves now. So we climbed and crawled and sweated our way up the slope. My feet slipped from under a bunch of... Oops, sorry. My sleep... Oh, snap. Sorry, guys. Went back. Okay. So my feet slipped out from under me a bunch of times, and I slid back more than once. Gerald and Kid had made Gush ensure that finding her secret place would be no picnic. But hey, if we could use this treasure to help Aunt Dee Dee pay off her house, it would be worth it all. And then finally, Storm gasped out, That's it. This is it. We're here. We are, Beck pointed out. But there's nothing to see. The only thing around us were more gravel and more rocks, fermentation, a few cacti, and some extra large boulders baking in the sun. Storm watched the locator in her hand and took a few steps over. According to our coordination, we need to be right. She clapped her hands down on the rock. Here. For a second, nobody said anything. We were all figuring it out at the same time. I could see it on the other side, others' eyes, but duh, buried treasure tends to be exactly that, buried. How do we get another? How we get under this boulder? Tommy said. Come help me move it. We all got on top of the hill, the massive rock, and started heaving. It wasn't easy. We pushed as hard as we could, and still that boulder budged only a tiny fraction of an inch. Again, heave, Tommy said. This time it budged 2 fractions of an inch, but fell right back into place before we could really make any progress. Harder, Beck yet. Don't quit now. We all pushed with everything we had, and the rock took him more than ever. It was so close to rolling away, but not close enough. This time it landed back on the spot with a huge whomp. That shook the ground under my feet. I felt the vibration all the way up to my legs. Oh man, Tommy wiped away more sweat. Any other ideas? But I wasn't paying attention to Tommy now. What was that noise? What noise? The trickle of gravel running past our feet. Shh. Everyone went quiet. The sound was like a low rumble. The thunder in the distance, except it was almost coming closer quickly. Look, Beck said. Her hand shot out and pointed straight uphill. And that's where we saw it. A massive landslide of rocks, gravel, and more boulders. The side of the Volkswagen was flowing right down the mountain, heading straight for us. Okay, boys and girls, that we're going to end off on chapter 16 today. And I will see you guys on Friday. Bye.